In this excerpt from John Bolinger's newest book, the reader will do more than remember. Those of us who suffered through the indignities and pressures of junior high and high school will suddenly smell the scent of gym floor wax or the mildewy odor from showers that were never completely dry and never had a chance to be completely cleaned. Especially boys who grew up in the 50s and 60s, because no doubt there are now many men all over the United States who share a bond in their collective aversions to gym classes from that era. These guys may now be successful businessmen, doctors, lawyers, teachers, architects, and social workers, people of high standards and great abilities. But the mention of laps around a gymnasium, push-ups on a gym floor, and the memory of verbal abuses suffered from PE teachers who had a way of making them feel totally worthless in the world of physical competition can still reduce them to puddles of low self-esteem in that sometimes terrifying world of masculine sports, where being a klutz in a game of medicine ball can make a fellow want to only hide under the nearest manhole cover. There is, however, the benefit of retrospect, which can provide humor and the feeling that we are all survivors together in finding other ways to prove our abilities to succeed outside of a gym class.
Until I was about 12 years old, the kids on our block congregated to play in a nearby vacant lot surrounded by a woods. There must have been at least 10 of us who were about the same age. Baby boomers whose lives had begun during or right after World War II. It seemed appropriate that we would play war games as Marines, sailors, army men, and women. There were 4 girls in the group. Chuck Crow, or Tommy Ulacki, was always the hero in whatever scenario we were portraying. The girls seemed to enjoy being rescued by these two, while the rest of us were assigned evil deeds to perform. Buster Crab reruns from the 1930s were popular on television, so we often played Flash Gordon on the Ulacki's enclosed front porch, where the wooden milk crates served as seats on the spaceship, while the vacant lot was the planet Mongo. Tommy Ulacki was almost always Flash Gordon, and Chuck Crow was Vulcan. Tom's sister Jerry was Dale, and I was generally Dr. Sarkov. One of the thrills of my childhood came when Tom had the measles and Chuck was at summer camp. That was the week I was Flash Gordon. When the two boys returned, my role sank to that of Ming, the Merciless. But we always had a wonderful time acting out plots that we had seen or ones that we simply made up as we went along. I actually got to be pretty good at playing the role of Ming the Merciless, which came in handy in later years when I needed to assert myself and show people that I meant business. It was during these role-playing games before middle school that I learned something about physical endurance. But nothing could have prepared me for the gym classes of 7th and 8th grades. Though I have never been to Marine boot camp, I congratulate myself that such experience is not so far from my grasp, because I had Mr. Blint for physical education, a class where I always felt like a human piñata. Survival depended upon one's being in constant motion, giving Mr. B the impression that effort was being expended. The moment a kid took a breather, sat down, or otherwise became immobile, Mr. Blint would utter his famous line, "Come on, Fluffy! This ain't no ballet!" My head was a magnet for the medicine balls, basketballs, baseballs, footballs, and soccer balls. Thank God we did not have bowling. Running around the gym 20 times was the way we always began the class, unless we were outside, in which case we ran around the track 10 times. My friend Tom was overweight and always came in last, which merited an extra lap. I can still see his flab bouncing inside his t-shirt as he flopped around the gym like a beardless and scantily clad Santa Claus. Tom was one of those gym class failures who was bad at physical activity. I suspected at times that even our seemingly heartless instructor, Mr. Blint, felt sorry for him. It was, however, Tom's climbing the gym rope that brings me the greatest recollections of terror of that time. Having spotters for the horse, the trampoline, and the rope was absolutely mandatory in gym class. But no one ever wanted to spot Tom because of his great bulk. The trampoline groaned under his weight so that even the floor seemed always to be in peril. But one day, while the rest of us were tumbling on the mats, we heard a huge splat and turned to see Tom flat on his back, the wind knocked out of him as he panted for help. No spotters in sight. For the rest of that semester, Tom was never again to be seen in gym class. He was always truant for just that hour of the day. No number of detentions could ever make him show up to be further humiliated. He was caught one day by an English teacher, Mrs. Dobag, during that period. Carrying a Dairy Queen sundae, he was taken to the office where his mother was called and told her son's flagrant disregard for the healthy activity of being thrown around the gym floor. Secretly, I admired his courage, fear, and wondered what the consequences would be had I been insubordinate enough to flout convention in order to ditch classes. I never found out, because my lack of boldness continued to earn me and several other boys in my class the nickname of Fluffy. Even now, when I'm climbing stairs, carrying groceries into the house, getting tired on my bicycle, or during jogging, I can still hear Mr. Blind's gruff voice yelling, "Come on, Fluffy! This ain't no ballet!" I am fairly certain that the echoes of those words still hover inside gymnasiums all over the country, from other instructors for whom the same line was an integral part of their college training. And I'm pretty certain that I share these memories of Mr. Blind with many other guys whose terror of Mr. Blind returns at the mere sight of a ballet tutu, or at the sound of Swan Lake.
Copies of John Bolinger's newest book, Come On Fluffy, This Ain't No Ballet, can be ordered on Amazon.com or go to mylazyrivers.com.